You know, I really like tea. At E3 in 2010, during the Nintendo press conference, they unveiled to the world for the first time ever the Nintendo 3DS.
3DS is on the way.
As well as a list of first and third-party titles that would be coming to the new console. There was one mention in particular, though, that got a bit of laughter from the crowd.
Kingdom Hearts. THQ.
Yeah, for the first time ever, Saints Row was going to be on a Nintendo console. Some people acted like this was kind of a big deal, but GTA Chinatown Wars had released on the Nintendo DS just a year prior. So, really not that much out of character. Initially, there was some speculation that this was going to be a port of Saints Row 2, but then it turns out that this was actually going to be a brand new game called Saints Row Drive-By. A little more information came out about it, and it turned out that it was also going to be on Xbox Live Arcade for the 360. It was going to serve as somewhat of a spin-off, but still going to involve some extra story elements that sort of parted the gap between Saints Row 2 and the new Saints Row 3 game that they were working on. It seems the real goal of this game was to hype up the release of Saints Row the Third, and by earning certain achievements in this game, you could actually unlock items in Saints Row the Third. Kinda similar to what they're doing right now with the whole Saints Row boss factory for the new Saints Row game, except a little bit cooler. The gameplay for this title was loosely based off of the drive-by diversion from Saints Row 2, thus the name. Outside of that, not a whole lot of information was known about the game. There was no screenshots, no trailer, no gameplay, not even any real logos that actually say Saints Row Drive-By. It wasn't mentioned again until 5 months later, when Shack News did an interview with Danny Bilson, the vice president of creative development at THQ at the time. Among their many questions was, what about the Saints Row Nintendo 3DS title that was going to be brought over to the Xbox Live Arcade as an extended product to support a future game in the series, much like your plan for Red Faction? That one is changed. It's changed. It's going to be a different... We actually changed the design or doing something more unique. This is just creative, but we wound up feeling the game we were building was too much like a section of Saints Row that you could play in Saints Row. Now we've come up with a new design with a completely original game mechanic, and we're building out something that supports Saints Row with that. Because you don't want to play something that you can play within the main experience. It's actually a really cool, unique game. We haven't announced yet for Xbox Live. Now this probably seemed insignificant at the time, but it marked a very important turning point. What they were doing was essentially rebooting the project, changing everything, even right down to the name. That's why later in May of the following year, when the question began to be asked, is Saints Row Drive-By canceled? THQ actually responded with, we are not developing Saints Row Drive-By. As far as everyone else was concerned, that was kind of the end of it. The game was canceled. But what they didn't say at the time was that that project had turned into something totally different under a totally different name. Saints Row Money Shot. Saints Row Money Shot was the more unique concept that Danny Bilson was talking about. In this game, you play as an Ultor assassin named Cypher, who's been tasked with taking out various targets around Stillwater. Gameplay consists of controlling the bullet from the moment it leaves the gun until it reaches its designated target, or until you mess up. There's also a bunch of little side objectives, or goals as the game calls them, that you need to complete during the various missions. Sort of going for that Hitman-esque replay style. Even after Saints Row Drive-By was quote-unquote canceled, this game was still in development, as you can see from the June 14th date on this development build. Sadly though, nobody knew they were working on this except for the developers, and funding was pulled, and THQ Digital Phoenix, the studio responsible for developing this, was closed 2 months later in August. This was due to the publisher trying to stave off bankruptcy, which despite their efforts, happened anyway a year and a half later. While Saints Row Money Shot was never officially announced or revealed, it was leaked about a week or two after the studio was closed. What really sucks is that the game was almost completely finished. You actually have a fairly functional working game for the most part in the development build. Obviously it's missing cutscenes, audio, a lot of the important stuff that would actually make it a game. But the core gameplay and most of the missions, the content is still there. The game was even rated by the Australian Ratings Board. You'd think with it being that close to completion, they'd just go ahead and put it out, and it's really a shame that they didn't. Originally, for completing certain goals in the game, you would unlock Cypher's outfit, her sniper rifle, and the flying bike that she rode around on. Since the game ended up getting canceled, they just made this a DLC that you could purchase for $2, or get included in the remastered version. What's probably the worst part about this is that this game actually had some really cool story tie-ins that tied up a few things between Saints Row 2 and Saints Row the Third, acting as a bit of a transition. The most notable of which being able to kill Dex. And when I say kill Dex, I mean an actual proper death. I don't mean like that disgrace that they had in Get Out of Hell.
I'm gonna so long, Dex.
To think, if they had finished this wouldn't be an ongoing plot hole in the story for the past 14 years. While it's a shame that this game got canceled, I'm really thankful that we have the development build for Xbox Live Arcade. Most people have never gotten the chance to play it because it required having a modded Xbox 360 in order to actually run it. However, thanks to all the people working on Xenia, the Xbox 360 emulator, the game is now actually playable on modern PCs. Which is something I'm planning on doing this very Saturday. I'm going to be streaming Saints Row Money Shot, doing all the various missions and the little side objectives, going over the history of the game a little bit more. It's gonna be a blast. I'm also gonna make a little setup guide in case you also wanna play this and check it out for yourself. You will now know exactly how to do that with the optimized settings to get you up and going. So yeah guys, that concludes my video on Saints Row Drive-By, where it started and how it ended up. I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this. Does Saints Row Drive-By sound like something you would have played? Or if not, would you have played Saints Row Money Shot? Let me know what you think about this. Also, please like this video if you enjoyed it. I plan on making more on other canceled Saints Row games in the series, as well as take a look at the long-forgotten mobile games. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Till next time, I've been your host, Cass Gaming, and I will see you all at the top.
You gotta call your girl and get paid.